The year is 2037, and humanity's greatest minds have unlocked the secret to prolonged lunar expeditions. But when a crew of astronauts stumbles upon a hidden cave on the moon's surface, what they find inside shatters everything we thought we knew about the universe. This is the story of a discovery that should never have been made, and the horrors that awaited them in the darkness. What lies beneath the moon's surface isn't just alien. It's a nightmare waiting to unfold. Before we dive into the chilling events that unfolded on that ill-fated mission, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales of the unknown. The lunar dust swirled under the boots of Commander Victor Hensley as he took his first steps into the shadowy cavern that loomed before his team. The moon's gray wasteland was cold and silent, save for the crackling of their radio chatter. Behind him were Dr. Elena Torres, the mission's astrobiologist, Captain Marcus Lee, the pilot, and Corporal Theo Vargas, the engineer. "This wasn't on any of our scans," Elena murmured, her voice tinged with awe and apprehension. The cave opening yawned wide, its edges unnaturally smooth as if carved with precision. A faint green glow emanated from within, pulsing like the slow heartbeat of a sleeping giant. "Looks like someone or something has been here before us," Victor said grimly. "Stay close. Keep your cameras rolling. Mission Control is going to want every second of this." As the team descended into the cavern, the light of their helmets barely pierced the inky blackness. The deeper they ventured, the more unnatural the surroundings became. The walls weren't rock but a metallic substance that felt oddly warm to the touch. Strange symbols, glowing faintly, covered the surfaces. "What do you think this place is?" Marcus asked, his voice tight with unease. "A base," Elena replied, "but not ours. This is alien." Her words hung in the air, a heavy truth none of them wanted to accept. They came upon a vast chamber, its ceiling so high it disappeared into the shadows. Rows of bizarre machines lined the walls, their purposes inscrutable. A cluster of translucent pods sat at the room's center, their contents obscured by thick, yellowish fluid. Theo moved closer, his gloved hand trembling as he wiped away the grime from one of the pods. What he saw made him stagger backward. Inside was a human, no, something that used to be human. Its body was grotesquely altered, its limbs elongated, its eyes fused shut, and its skin covered in alien markings. "God, what did they do to them?" Theo whispered. "They experimented," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't just a base. It's a laboratory, a prison." Victor's voice cut through the growing panic. "We need to document this and leave. Now." But before they could act, a low rumbling sound echoed through the chamber. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive. The team froze as the sound grew louder, resonating from deep within the structure. It was a guttural growl, wet and menacing, like a predator stirring after a long slumber. Did you hear that?" Marcus asked, gripping his laser cutter tightly. They weren't alone. A shadow moved at the edge of their lights, fast and deliberate. Victor raised his flashlight, but whatever it was had already vanished into the darkness. "Form up. No one gets separated," Victor barked, his voice firm despite the fear clawing at his chest. But the thing stalking them had no intention of letting them escape. As they made their way back to the entrance, the creature struck. Marcus, at the rear, screamed as something large and impossibly fast dragged him into the darkness. The sound of tearing flesh and Marcus's agonized cries filled the air, then fell silent. "Marcus, no!" Elena screamed, but Victor pulled her back. "Keep moving. We can't help him." Blood pooled on the metallic floor as the team ran, their footsteps echoing in the cavern. One by one, the team fell victim to the darkness that stalked them. Theo was the next to go. He had been trailing the group, stopping momentarily to examine a strange, pulsating panel on the wall. A series of grooves that seemed to move like liquid metal under his fingers. His voice, calm and curious just moments ago, became a choked cry of agony as something yanked him sideways into a narrow corridor. "Help! Help me!" Theo's voice, distorted by his helmet's comms, faded into static as Victor and Elena spun around. Their flashlights caught glimpses of movement, a smear of red trailing into the impenetrable shadows. They could hear it, wet, crunching sounds and the faint rasp of labored breathing. When Victor shined his light into the corridor, the beam landed on Theo's outstretched arm, his gloved fingers twitching weakly. Then, with an inhuman shriek, the arm was yanked out of view, leaving a streak of crimson on the metallic walls. Elena froze, clutching her chest as her breath quickened. What is this? This isn't a creature. It's a nightmare. Victor grabbed her shoulder, pulling her back. We keep moving. Now. The corridor they had entered seemed different somehow. The walls shifted subtly, as if the structure itself was responding to their movements, guiding them deeper into its labyrinthine interior. It was no longer just a base. It felt alive, a malevolent intelligence observing their every step. As they pressed on, the air grew heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the echo of their boots. Every shadow seemed to ripple, every sound a potential threat. In the dim light of their helmets, they found another room, this one far more sinister than the first. Pods lined the walls, but these weren't dormant like the ones they'd seen earlier. Inside, figures writhed weakly, their bodies mangled and mutated beyond recognition. Human faces were stretched over alien forms, mouths open in silent screams. Some had extra limbs protruding grotesquely from their torsos. Others had eyes that glowed faintly with a sickly green light. Elena stepped closer to one of the pods, her breath fogging the glass. The figure inside turned its head, its remaining eye locking onto hers. Its lips moved, mouthing a single word, "Help." Elena stumbled back, nearly falling. They're still alive. Victor, they're still alive. Victor's jaw tightened as he pulled her away. Whatever they are now, they're not human anymore. But it wasn't just the mutilated figures inside the pods that disturbed them. The walls were lined with instruments, tools designed not for healing, but for dismantling. Blades that hummed faintly, needles the size of spears, and cages that seemed too small for even the twisted forms they'd seen. Scattered across the floor were human remains, their bones gnawed clean, as though whatever had been in the base before them had feasted on its victims. It was in that room that the creature made its full appearance. A low growl rumbled through the chamber, the sound vibrating in their bones. The temperature seemed to drop, their breaths fogging up their visors. "Victor," Elena whispered, her voice trembling. "It's here." The lights from their helmets flickered, struggling against the encroaching darkness. The shadows ahead moved, and then it stepped into view. The creature was a monstrosity, twice the height of any human, its sinewy frame pulsating with unnatural energy. Its limbs were elongated and mismatched, as if someone had pieced together a puzzle with all the wrong pieces. Its head was an amalgamation of human and alien features, with a jaw that unhinged unnaturally wide, revealing rows of jagged, blackened teeth. Worst of all were its eyes, two hollow pits, glowing faintly with the same green light that pulsed through the base. There was something deeply wrong about those eyes, something that hinted at a mind shattered by pain and madness. Victor's flashlight landed on its chest, where torn fragments of a NASA patch clung to its withered skin. "Oh my God!" Elena breathed. It's one of us." The creature roared, a guttural, otherworldly sound that filled the chamber and sent a wave of dread crashing over them. "Run!" Victor shouted, grabbing Elena's arm and pulling her away as the creature charged. The chase was relentless. The creature was faster, stronger, and eerily intelligent, herding them through the maze-like corridors. Elena stumbled, her cries echoing as Victor dragged her along. "This isn't possible," she sobbed. "The maps. This base is changing." And it was true. The walls, once rigid, seemed to twist and shift like living flesh, blocking off passages and opening others. Symbols glowed more intensely, forming patterns that Victor could swear were watching them. "The base? It's alive," Victor muttered. The creature let out another roar, the sound coming from somewhere far too close. Victor and Elena found themselves in a small chamber, the walls closing in on them like a vice. The creature's growls reverberated from just beyond the door. "It can smell us," Elena whispered, clutching her arm where a cut had bled through her suit. Victor's mind raced, and then he had an idea, a terrible, desperate idea. "Elena, give me your knife." "What? Why?" "I'm going to bleed. A lot. I'll draw it away." "No, Victor. You can't. There's no other way," he snapped. "I'll lead it off. When it goes after the blood, you make a run for it." Without waiting for her response, he slashed his arm deeply, the crimson droplets splattering across the walls. The base seemed to react, the symbols glowing brighter as the blood spread. Victor staggered into the hallway, smearing his blood along the walls as he went. The creature's growls grew louder, its footsteps pounding toward him. "Come on, you bastard," he muttered under his breath. "Come and get me." The creature lunged past Elena, following the trail of blood. Victor reached the surface alone, gasping as he emerged into the pale lunar light. He stumbled to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He had done it. He had survived. But as he looked up, his relief turned to horror. Figures loomed on the horizon, their silhouettes sharp and unnatural against the stark lunar landscape. They were sleek, otherworldly beings, their forms shimmering faintly in the weak sunlight. One of them stepped forward, its dark eyes locking onto Victor. In its hand was a device that began to hum ominously. Victor screamed, but there was no one left to hear him. The last transmission from the mission cut off with static, leaving only questions behind. And so, the moon keeps its secrets, hidden in the silence of the void. What Victor and his team uncovered wasn't just alien, it was a warning. A warning that some doors, once opened, can never be closed. If this story sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to subscribe for more tales of cosmic terror and the unknown. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars, but beware of what might stare back.